Happy Sunday, ball watchers. Ball watching is back for it's been a while, I feel like, since the Sunday edition. We were a Monday last week, but it's good to be back on Sundays. Always good to have the Sunday vibes. Usually hoping to be a little more positive. And today, I think we can still be relatively positive after seeing that result last night. It was a 2-1 loss away to Orlando City SC, but I think with that, plenty of positives to take from it, especially some individual performances. But Justin, welcome to the show. I know you're in Atlanta this weekend, correct? How's that going?
It's been unreal. We went to the PGA Tour Championship yesterday. I bought way too much gear. I am donning that polo now, and it's been awesome. I'm excited to see it again today. I think Vic Hovland is pretty much running away with it, but hopefully we can sneak out and get a little fun Sunday afternoon.
Did you have him?
No, we took Scotty Scheffler to win, but we've got Colin Morikawa top 5 plus 230. That's already a lock. He was top 10. Rahm top 5. So we'll be following Mr. Sweaty John Rahm today.
Watch Morikawa just nosedive.
Okay, there's the positivity from my co-host.
Okay, well let's get into the game last night. Man, one word summaries. It's hard to think about this one because the first half and second half were so different to me in what we put forward as a team. I would say our performance in the second half. I'm gonna zero in on the second half for me, and I think it was resilient. I think we really did come back and we made that a game that we had our moments. We obviously put away. We only had 2 shots on goal, which is a whole nother thing in and of itself. But for Alm to bury that and Markinek to come in and make an impact like that instantly off the bench, I think it displayed, tremendous resilience from this team. That's what you want to see, a skill they're building on as we head towards the playoffs here. But ultimately, just not enough. Not enough. Orlando was definitely the better team on the night, and I think the score reflected that. It was definitely a heartbreaker, though, in terms of how it came down.
Yeah, I'm going to stay a little positive. You said resilient. I'm going to stay positive on this one as well, Jake. I think it was upbeat. I think the entire game was pretty upbeat. I mean, we'll talk about the highlights, but that absolute ripper from Indy in like the 90th plus 7 off the bad clearance from them, that was an unreal shot. That goalie was spinning like a top. He had no clue where that ball was, what was happening, ripped it off the post. So I'm going to say upbeat. I mean, I updated the magic number. We'll touch on that too. We're not out of the playoffs and didn't really change much. I think with the other teams, what is happening around us, we're still fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look at what Vegas was saying about this game. I mean, we since we talked about it in the preview, we just tanked on the odds. I think you were telling me we were in the plus 300s before the game started to win this game, and we were plus money at some point this week for double chance even. So there was not much of an expectation on this team, at least from the non-biased bystanders coming into this. But I think for what it's worth, we definitely deserved where we got in that result that game. Like it was definitely close. We gave them a closer game than I think a lot of people were imagining. But it started for me with the 11. The 11 was so different than what I was imagining, and I think there were some good parts about it and there were some bad parts about it. I want to hear what your thoughts on before I get into what I think.
So I was about to say this one we should spend a little bit more time on than the highlights and the lowlights, I would say, in this game. Because, I mean, the game was, like I said, very upbeat. And there were a lot of highlights and lowlights. But the 11 really threw me off. When we saw, Derwinski coming back fine. I still, how I feel about that.
Yep.
But obviously, first, congrats to Tim Parker. Rory Ryan Parker had his son. So if anybody's wondering why, I think it was 4:30 a.m. that the boy came out. So obviously, Tim is not playing in that game. That's why Nilsson's in. Otherwise, I think it would be Nilsson and Parker, not Yarrow, but that's fine with me. We'll take Yarrow for one more game there. I absolutely hated Akil Watts in the midfield. I did not like that, in my opinion, and I think I have it as a general note down here. I think I actually have it in the lowlights. I said, hate Watts in that position, no confidence going forward. And then I said, his shots are straight rail tequila with no salt or lime. Give me Leo Pompeo. When he shoots, it's just he's not an offensive guy. I think he felt out of position. Like, no offense to him, it just looked awful.
Yeah, so I'm looking for it right now because we've done this experiment before. We did the Watts as central defensive midfielder before, and we got pounded. And I think he got pulled at halftime. And I'm looking for the game, and I cannot remember. It was earlier on in the season.
I
Do you
mean,
remember?
I don't remember specifically, but in my opinion, like this even showed how bad Nerwinski played, getting a yellow and then a straight red. Like this just proves that's Akil Watts' spot. He just needs to be a right back.
Yeah. So the deal, I get the approach behind it. I do, because he could do that for City too, and he has some level of flexibility in him that's nice, and you want to be able to position him differently. So the bigger tale for me here is that yes, so obviously you're missing Blum, so you got to fill in Blum's spot. The person that I would imagine you want to fill him in with first in my mind would be Indy, which is what I said. And Indy isn't a straight like for like, which is unfortunate, but you can make it work.
Yep.
And then I would even think Miggy, but Miggy hasn't seen the light of day since I don't know how long. I know he's in City 2 getting minutes there, but like think about how things have changed, because he was a big part of the team earlier on in the season and playing pretty consistent minutes. And now to not even make the bench when we're missing our number one CDM it shows how things have changed. So I get that Carnell wants to go to try to do that, but again, that's not a position I think he can play at this level yet.
You can't throw Miggy in there, unfortunately. I love Miggy, and I think he's going to be great for us going forward, but it's a confidence thing, dude. If you're not even making the bench, you can't expect to just throw him straight into a starting
Oh,
lineup.
absolutely.
And he's what, 19? Like we can't expect that much out of that kid right now. Right. I would have thrown Ostrak in the upper right, and then threw, like you said, put Indy in as the holding and put Ostrak in Alm. I don't care. We have enough forwards to fill out the forward, like the upper part of our lineup. If we need a center defensive mid, it's got to be Indy if you're not using Blum.
Yeah, it was just really interesting. I almost felt like we split our team in half last night. And if you were watching, it was literally Leuven and Endy, and then Gioacchini and Adeniran. And then that was kind of it for our attack. And then everyone else was kind of just sitting back. It wasn't very fluid within the team last night. So I did like Indy coming in. I thought he had a decent performance. And I feel like I've missed him getting that, sizable chunk of minutes. And Jake Nerwinski, I think I could have done without on that side. I just feel like Akil Watts just brings a lot more athleticism to it. And then Nilsson, like you said, great presence. I have great things to say about his performance. We'll get into it when we start here now in the highlights. But
let's get into the highlights.
Yeah. So Nilsson immediately for me, and I have a couple comments about this, but I'll consolidate into one here. His ability, and you see Tim Parker kind of do it sometimes as well, but Nilsson's ability to embody what I think Carnell is trying to do and making it very hard to play out of the back and up to the forwards by your central, your center backs being kind of dragged a little bit into midfield to breathe down the backs of these forwards and try to nick the ball off them as they're getting that pass to their feet or just playing very, very physical. So his ability to disrupt that attack is incredible. And you already saw that on display last night. He broke up a couple of great passes and basically stops attacks before they're even allowed to happen. So I think that's something that it really does embody the style of play I think we're trying to bring. And with him and Parker both able to kind of do that, like just very, very tight man mark some of these forwards and stop these attacks from being started is a great asset to us. And I think he had a good showing last night. Ultimately, I did not have many quips for Nilsson.
No, I thought Nilsson did a great job. I'm excited to see what he can do with Parker back there. Let's figure out. I think we'll touch. I don't want to get too much in the back line. Let's stay on the highlights there.
Yeah.
So Watts in the 12th minute gets a bounce, beats three guys, gets a ball in the Nico. He can't get a foot on it, but it's good to see Watts going forward there. Just don't take shots.
Yeah.
Berkey, beautiful long ball into Leuven, opposite side of the field, plays into Indy, who rips a shot just off the net on the outside. So we love seeing. I mean, just if you have a sentence with Berkey and Leuven in it, whoever's on the back end of that is going to have a great shot. I can promise that. So it doesn't even, that could be Indy, that could be Blum, it could be Nico, Klaus. I don't care. It's going to be a great chance. Berkey absolutely cleans Jensen's clock on an in swinger. He pops up, checks on him. It was really good to see them. They just kind of it was a tough ball. It was in between them. Berkey wins it. And then they just bang bodies. And that's Charles Barkley. And then but he just checks on him. It's good to see both those guys get up.
It was a game respects game moment. It was good, but that was for me a summary of Berkey tonight. It wasn't a typical game from him where you just see him make these world-class saves as much as it was a manage your box type game. And he did so, I think, pretty comfortably, commanded it well, had some great punches, some great parries out of danger, fielded most everything that came his way pretty cleanly. So I thought he overall had a pretty decent performance as well. Not much. I don't think he could have done on the goals, but we'll get to that here. So This is a low light that made a highlight because of the recovery, but Hebert raced after a cleared corner and just threw in like the most random cross, like to no one. It went straight to the goalie, and they led a counterattack, and Hebert got on his horse to get back and did end up making the play. So a low light turned highlight there. And for me, I think there is, and we talk about just when you hear certain names in a highlight, you know good things coming. So there is the combination play. There was some last night from like Nico, Adeniran, Leuven orchestrating their own counter. And I feel like what was happening in the first half for us was we would get ourselves into some good positions, but we just lacked that final pass or that final bit of quality or the vision to make that chance very quality and get a good shot on that. And it just wasn't happening for us. I think the best opportunity I can remember was one that Nico just skied over the net. But it just, the first half was just kind of sputtering for our offense. It wasn't connected. Like I said, I feel like our team was kind of split into half. And I feel like that's why the subs, honestly, for me, became a highlight, because I think that they actually became a big difference maker for us and changed how we were coming to play.
No, I completely agree. I mean, if we want to hop straight to it, I mean, the Thorsten sum at halftime, I absolutely loved. It's good to see him get out there, and you could see he's already connected with the team. And this is a very tight-knit team with great chemistry, and just bringing a guy in that just flies in mid-season, and you know he's going to take playing time from some guys, and they just welcomed him with open arms. So it's good to see him get in. He got in right at halftime. I will say what does stink about that is he came in for Nico, who was in, like, his arm was wrapped and like inside of his shirt after the game. But great to see out of these guys. I'll jump way to the end. He's signing autographs with his offhand, unless he's left-handed, which I doubt. He's like, after the game, those guys are still doing it, even when he's injured. I'm sure everybody's asking him questions. He doesn't want to deal with it. But Jake, how serious do you think this arm injury is?
I saw him walking back to the bench afterwards, and he was gesturing to the fans like he's okay. So I hope it's not serious, but I've also hoped that before, and I've been wrong. So I'm not going to really speak too much for it. I mean, it would be really unfortunate to lose him for any stretch of games right now, because I feel like now that Klaus is back with getting minutes, I think Nico is back on number 2, either on the depth chart for striker or / playing the number 2 next to Klaus. So I feel like it'd be very unfortunate timing to have Klaus pop back in and Nico out.
I don't think Nico's going to be out. We talked about it. They do their little celebration. I think we forget how well they play off each other. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be Sam Dinneran, which I would not mind seeing him maybe on like a right wing, which I know it's not set in stone yet, but we have like Alm and Ostrak who kind of fill in there, and it's kind of up and down. Give me a little Sam on the right. If you give me Sam, Joao Klaus, Thoresen, and Nico, how are we not scoring 2 goals with balls being driven in from Leuven? And and then don't forget the embodiment of a human fidget spinner underneath of them with AZ.
I don't know. I'm Team Alm, honestly, on the right now. I feel like he's coming into it, and he got the goal last night, so I feel like his confidence is rolling right now. But let's keep going through the highlights here. So there were some good tackles, some good recovery, because I think Orlando started to really creep into this game and start to kind of put a little bit of a stranglehold on it towards the kind of turning point of the second half. And there were some good tackles from Nilsson, some good tackles from Kyle Hebert after Junior Urso came on for Orlando and had a pretty good impact, dribbled a ton of our guys, and Hebert put on a last kind of ditch challenge. Leuven had a pretty dangerous free kick that he had a little bit too deep, I think. And then we saw in the 76th minute the return of Santa Claus. And it wasn't all it was hyped up to be, because it just kind of, the game was not really going for us at that point. And then the goal came shortly after, but he wasn't really involved in that. But I think he had some good touches. Nothing that's going to blow your socks off, but I think it's just a matter of time till he gets that 90-minute shift and you see what we've been missing for so long now.
I'm hoping we get that 90-minute shift next game against Dallas, in my opinion. Just give me him as I don't rush him back, because God forbid if he gets hurt again, I will cry. But Jake, I do want you to guess. I was listening to the recap this morning. How many games did Klaus miss?
So he was out since April 22nd, right?
Yeah. Just give me a quick number.
If he played the first 2 months of the season, then he missed 4 months, and we have another 2 months. Okay. I'm just going to guess 18.
Nice. 19.
19.
Yeah, 19 games, which is just absurd for me. With an injury that was expected to be 10 to 14 days, which would have been like 3 games.
Just a wee bit longer.
Just a little off. We're fine. I'm not worried about it. Look at the team we have. I'm not concerned. But
no, I don't think it was a good. Looking back on it, for how we fared, it actually turned out to be okay, because you got to see a lot of other guys you probably wouldn't have seen before. Like we called Adeniran back from loan; he wouldn't even be in the MLS. Had it not have been for this.
I think, and knock on wood and maybe hot take, that injury was helpful to this team. This team, a lot of guys got minutes. It's going to help us in the long run. Yes, we had some ups and downs, but I mean, the ups were just as bad as, or just as good as the down bads. Like it all evened out. I think we did fine to weather the storm there, and it shows the resiliency, your word, on this team and this season as a whole. So I loved it. So
that's a good. I agree with that hot take. I think hindsight, of course, like if you'd have told me that he was out for 4 months, I'd have been devastated. But hindsight for sure. Like Adeniran's getting scouted now from overseas. Like he wouldn't have even been on anyone's radar.
Like also like what else could we be doing? We're in first. We could have like 50 plus points, like Cincy, but that'd be the only other thing. Like if we had Klaus the entire time, but then that way we wouldn't have these guys that are getting like AZ. Who knows if AZ would be playing?
Who knows? Yeah, right.
And so I think it's good for the team as a whole, and it'll be good for the long run. But
I agree.
One more highlight on us that I'll take us, or we have a couple more actually. City goal, the Markinick. I love that you have looking super good, by the way, in parentheses here. He did look good at left back. Does well to square the ball to Alm, and Alm just sneaks in off the outside of the foot and in. Yes, there was VAR. I don't even think it's a hot take. This is just lukewarm. What is the ref on the other side of the field doing calling that ball out of bounds? I'm so worried that we were not going to have conclusive evidence to be able to overturn that, because think of it, I think of it like baseball. It's whenever they do it, or sorry, football, either the call stands or it's confirmed or it's overturned. If it stands, that means they didn't have evidence to overturn it. And since the goal was called a no goal on the field, that was my worry. It's like, what are you doing even calling that from 50 yards away on the other side of the field through the net? And
it's absurd. It's like the innocent until proven guilty. Like you need to make sure that call on the field is good. It's a good goal. I couldn't see it. You can't make a call if you're not 100% confident that call was made, because then you have VAR to fall back on and they can correct it. But you can't be aggressive in this situation if you're a referee. I think that mindset is significantly detrimental to the game. If you're going to be like, I'm not sure, so I'm going to call it, versus I'm not sure, so let's hope that VAR can correct this on the back end. Like that's the way it should be, not me calling this from 50 yards away.
That's why a lot of these things, when they're like offsides, they don't raise their flag until after. Unfortunately, I understand that he raised it then, but it's like that should be a benefit, like you said, innocent until proven guilty. I hated that. If you're on that side, if the ball was on the right side and the ref was there, then yeah, I get it. Yeah. But that man had to see through a net. I literally watched him. He like leaned to the right, had to see through the net, through the post to get that. It really upset me. But I will say another positive, because I feel like we talked about a lot of negatives in these highlights. The Indy banger on that corner, they headed the ball out. He had a banger from 25 yards off the outside of the post. Absolutely unreal shot. That goalie was looking around like a bomb went off. He had no clue where the ball was. He literally did a full 360 in front of the net. So that was an incredible shot. It shows what Indy can do. And then Berkey had a laser save on that free kick, literally in pretty much the last kick of the game.
Yeah. So Justin, I know we got to get to lowlights here. We've already kind of mixed them in here, so maybe it'll be a shorter section. But I do think here, this game, we talk about expected goals, is actually very, very on point with what the results were. Because if you look at expected goals for this one, if you look at FOTMOB, which is where we get ours from, it was 1.46 expected goals for Orlando and 0.72 to us. And I feel like that is spot on, because our best chance came through Alm, whose opportunity had a 0.38 XG. He was right in front of net, but obviously a guy was closing down on him, a super tight angle. So I get that. And he buries it, obviously. So that was our best ones. That was half our XG, basically.
Shout out to Nate Lucas and The Verdict. We're on there every Friday at 2:30 p.m., 590 The Fan. But this will be a very, very few and far between time that I agree with the XG and Jake here. That 0.38, I would say he scores that a third of the time. Yeah. Like there was a guy closing down, not an easy finish. So yeah, I wouldn't give it any higher than that. Us only having 0.72 makes a lot of sense. That Indy shot, that goes in 1 out of 100 times. He absolutely ripped that. So I'm not surprised by this at all.
Yeah, and we only had 2 shots on goal, because that one doesn't count, of course, which is always weird. I feel like that is such a weird.
Math has to math. If it's on goal, there either has to be a save or a goal.
Yeah, I'm looking for the quality. What did they give Indies? They gave Indies a 0.01 XG on his.
I just said 1 out of 100. That's spot on.
Yeah, I mean, that was tremendous quality to get it where he actually did end up getting it. If
Right.
that would have gone in, like I almost jumped off the couch in anticipation of that going. It was
I
so
was jumping up and down. I'm like, oh my God. And then like we're still alive. No one was like putting their hands on their heads. Like we were ready to go finish that next shot.
Jess, we're getting a question here about Jake Nerwinski. Let's talk about this in the player ratings because I think we got some clarity to provide on the Nerwinski of it all.
Yeah, Zach, we'll get to that. Let's go low lights real quick, Jake.
Yeah, low lights. So
let's not spend a whole lot of time on this because I feel
yeah,
like you're pretty negative as it was.
So I'm gonna let's speed run through this. So low lights, because I don't want to linger, because I honestly do think there was a lot of good things that came out of this game that will be good for us in the long run. But due to the system, we lacked any sort of attack on the wings. Just because we were playing midfielders, there was no winger play at all. Adeniran was on an island for some parts of the game. He was so isolated. A lot of things ran through the right side of the field where Nico was. So otherwise, there was a couple good opportunities. I mean, AZ had a nice takeaway that he played Nico through. There was a little bit of indecisiveness on the shot or not. Couldn't get his feet set. Didn't get it on. Nico also, I feel like, made a couple wrong decisions in sort of our counters that we did have. I feel like our counters were just too slow. Like we just lacked that final pass to unlock the defense and get in on goal. There was a couple moments there where I feel like our defending was a little bit suspect in terms of just not marking your man tight enough. You look at a situation like Orlando had a great chance in like the 30th minute, and it was a cross, and the guy ended up right between Yarrow and Nerwinski. Perfect. Like there's like a couple yards of space in between them. That's where the attacker pops up, gets on the end of the cross. Fortunately, it goes wide. But man, that was a great opportunity. And I mean, Berkey would have had no chance to do anything because these guys just blew their coverage. We had another Yarrow moment. I feel like Yarrow last night was not his best performance, and I feel like it's bad timing for that because you're looking now at Parker coming back. Obviously, Nilsson's back. He's not 90 full yet, but I feel like he's 90 full next game. So unfortunate timing there. I feel like he was ball watching a little bit, Justin. You wrote that down. I mean, always great to tie it to the name, but it's never good to be doing on the field.
No, it's not. And you're completely, I was going to say the same thing. Timing could not have been worse. He's not playing his way into this lineup, and he's kind of playing his way out, and which is very easy to do right now that we have Nilsson back. So I would say, I think our next game is Parker Nilsson in the back. Give me Akil Watts on the right. Honestly, Jake, I'm not going to lie. Hebert has not been playing that well, but give me Johnny Nelson. Let me get the man another chance. It's been annoying to me that ever since that red card that he's been sitting this much. But that's all. I feel like that's a hot take for some listeners, but I absolutely love Johnny back there. He led the team in tackles throughout the year when he was playing well. So whatever. Give me another shot there. 47th minute. That's when they have their goal. The cutback, dish top across the 18, finish into the far corner. It was deflected off of a Nerwinski slide, which I think threw Roman off, and then we almost saved it with Hebert. Like I wonder, do you have the XG on that one, Jake? I'm kind of putting you on the spot on that.
I could pull it. Yeah,
I'll keep us rolling. But
yeah, I have it. First goal was a 0.12 XG from Torres. Yeah.
See, I mean, like, I agree with that. Like, that should be pretty low. And I mean, it's good. He was kind of open, but it was the deflected shot. If it's not
wide, it was a tough angle.
And if it's not deflected, I think Berkey saves it. And then literally Hebert was like a foot away from saving it off the line too. So 0.12 makes sense there. I would say, like you already mentioned, the first half here, Berkey been incredible, controlling his box all half. Set pieces slipped in, balls behind are troubling us. That's where we talk about it, where Yara was literally like watching them, and the guy just slipped right behind. And that's something that's been troubling us all year.
It has. And there was a couple lucky calls as well. I mean, Nerwinski, I think, was pretty fortunate to get that foul called when Orlando was about to spring on the counterattack. And I think he might have just gotten clipped, but man, if that was me on the other side, I'd have been pretty upset about that. They were mad.
Nerwinski got a red card. I'm shocked our coach didn't get a red card. I would have been jumping up and down, banging the floor, like throwing a temper tantrum if I was them. And then also, if we look at the 86, they got the PK call on Markinick. It's tough. That's a really tough one. Like, I don't blame that guy whatsoever. You know what I do love? It's him rolling around like it hit him in the face. That is an immediate reaction that almost can save. That's the ref was originally like, no, it's not. Like, just because he was doing this, I mean, it's way better for him to do that and then just be like, oh, I'm caught red-handed. I hated the announcers in these games. I'm going to do a quick little light on them as well.
I agree.
After he put that PK away, the announcer goes, Torres points that into the bottom corner.
Yeah.
That shot was chest high, middle right. If Roman if he just stays in the middle, he might save it with his right hand and Spider-Man. Like, this guy was awful.
No, I agree, and I'll take it even further than that. Like when the whole Markinick goal thing happened, these guys on the first replay spin around where the ball is literally a blurry cloud at that point because it's slowed down and it's freeze framed. He's like, I see green. It's like, what? I can't even see the ball. Like, how do you see green? What are you looking at? Like, you're making this initial call, and then they see the next thing is like, oh no, it's definitely in play. I'm like, yeah, you got to walk that back. Are you kidding me? Who is this guy?
I don't know. And also, if you see green, that's looking at it from behind. You have to look at it straight up and down. We know that's from the U.S. women's national team PK thing. You've seen green from straight up and down, not below it. Like, that's it. Yes, I love this here.
Yeah.
Exactly what you just said. I saw green because the ball was bouncing off the ground. Like, great job, fella, as the announcer. Like, absolutely awful. And then after the game, one last little, like, the Nowinski red card. He was already on a yellow. It was if it was a straight red, it was very weak. I barely even thought that was a foul, in my opinion. But I mean, game was kind of weak at that point.
I don't think it was malicious. I don't think he was trying to bring him down. I think the way he kind of the Orlando guy used his body to get in front of him, it was the only thing Nowinski could do. He couldn't slow down anymore, and he just ran into him like at least a little bit, and he goes down. I mean so he got a yellow card, right? It was 2 yellows, not a yellow and a red, right?
I thought it might have been a straight red. I know we already had yellow. It doesn't matter.
It does matter for suspension, right? Because if you get a straight red, don't you miss? I think Jake. No, actually, no. I know what the situation is. Jake is on the hook for 2 games now. He is gone for 2 games because he also hit his yellow card accumulation.
Okay.
And he got the red card. So I think it was 2 yellows that he got in this game, and that ended him now getting 2 game suspension. So unfortunate for him, but also another reason you throw Watts back in. So, I mean, it's going to work out fine for us.
Last little that I have, Jake, is the announcer. After the win, they go, Orlando with their marquee win of 2023. Like, calm down, brother. They're literally 4th in the West, in the East. Like, I mean, yes, we're a good team, but that's a hot take. Like, their marquee win.
Yeah.
There's still like 9 games left. They're not like pushing to barely make the playoffs. I thought that was hot.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was weird. So player ratings, before we get to player ratings, Justin, if anyone's tuned in here on YouTube, I see a couple of you. Go down right now while you're on here. And if you're listening to this afterwards, and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm sure most of you are, but it's like 50% of our viewership do not subscribe at this moment. So make sure you do that, and do the same on the pod. You know, we're on Apple, Spotify, Amazon as well. Make sure you like the show, leave us a comment, leave us a review. We love any feedback you all want to share. 5-star if possible. Hopefully you're liking what you're hearing. And then anything else too. I mean, shoot us DMs on Instagram. Shoot us your questions. We try to answer as many things as we can on these. I love hearing the questions because I feel like we get some good questions from listeners.
I love the comments, love the questions. Keep them coming. And as a thank you to you guys for doing that, we'll give you some discounts. Series 6. Series6company.com, 15% off. Get some St. Louis gear in there. 20% off at souljuice.com. Go get it at Deerberg's. Luis is popping off. We got some big news to share from him. Congrats to Luis.
I've got Soul Juice right now, by the way.
Soul Juice? Attaboy. Yep. Did you have a late night last night, or you just drink it for fun?
No, I ran for a run this morning. Yeah.
That is absolutely shocking. If you guys know Jake, this man,
look at me.
It's not do cardio. And then also get to the pitch. I mean, if you guys have ideas for the pitch as well, City games, Blues games, Cardinals, SLU basketball, Mizzou football, NFL, any college football, the pitch is your place to be. They now have bucket deals. We got like half off pretty much for the frozen Irish coffees. I will be there all year long.
Yep. Pitch is a good spot. They've now got some excellent new coasters. I've been seeing as well. So make sure you head to the pitch and see these beautiful ball watching sponsored by the pitch coasters, and you can do the QR code, go to all of our links and stuff, and then you can go like at the show and subscribe to the show there as well. So you can do that all now at the pitch. But Justin, player ratings, got to start here in the back line. Berkey, he's got a 6 here according to FOTMob. It's a tough game for him because I think a lot of the stats for him were more on the commanding the box type thing in some of his passes versus shot stopping abilities. So it's tough to grade him. I think you're going to have to give him a B on this one for me. Like, I think his distribution and his box presence were pretty solid, his leadership from the back. But ultimately, I don't think he could have done much on that first goal because of deflection. And obviously a PK is a PK.
I agree. There's only 4 shots on goal. I think he did well with the laser free kick late in the game. It's tough because it shows like a 50-50, and that's probably why they're giving him a 6.2. 50% save rate.
Yeah.
But like you said, that deflection with the PK, I don't expect anything else out of there. So I'll give him a flat B on that one. Not his best game, but there's so many goals. I hate to say it. Actually, I love to say it. When goals go in, a lot of times there's nothing that man can do about it. He saves everything else that he even has a chance to.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that he doesn't have a chance on still gets a fingertip and saves it over the bar. So I'll give him a flat B there. Back line, dude. Nilsson, I'll give him an A-. I think, especially as coming on and like having his first game with the team, I thought that was a great game for him. Yarrow, Hebert, Nerwinski, C-. Hebert and Yarrow, B-. I just don't think there was anything there as like a positive. I don't think we had a highlight. You had a highlight for Hebert on cleaning up his own problem, but I had no highlight from Yarrow. We had just had a low light on him getting spawned and ball watching.
So I think this game taught us a few definitive things. And I think one of them is that we said Watts already needs to be right back. I don't think the central defensive midfield experiment is needed to be tried again. And secondarily, we see it always on social media and people, because I think Hebert's another person that people love to kind of harp on some of his abilities, but he's got some plot armor because of how good he was in the beginning of the season at center back. I think he's a center back. I don't think he's a left back anymore. I think Markinick, from what he displayed last night, I want to see him test a little more defensively because it was kind of a little bit later on the game, but going forward, he was super strong. I think he's a little bit more of a flexible type left back than Hebert is. He's a defensive guy. God, when he gets up the field, he's like a deer in headlights, and I don't blame him. Like, that's just not his position. But I think Markinick kind of has a similar profile to Nelson a little bit in terms of like able to kind of do both. So I do expect Markinick to probably start this next game just for what he showed last night. But I agree with your assessment of the back line. I think it's going to be Nilsson and Parker in the middle, and then it's going to be Watts and Markinick on the wings, personally. And I think Hebert drops to the bench.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then if we move up to the midfield, it's hard to give Leuven anything less than like an A. I'd maybe a B+ in that game just because there wasn't a whole lot of highlights on the list. But it's one of those things where it's off the stat sheet for him, and just controlling that midfield is where he really shines for me. Watts, I'd give him a B-. And not to his own fault. It's just a tough place. That's a brand new position for him, and he just doesn't belong there. And I think just throwing him in there, I don't know if they practice it or what, but I didn't like it. Indy, I'd give him a B+. I thought Indy, especially with the Ripper, maybe it's just literally sitting on top of my head because
he was good though. He was good.
I thought he was good across the field as well.
Yeah,
Jake, I'll hop to these guys real quick. AZ, Dinner, and Nico, I'd give him a flat, maybe even a B-. I don't know. I didn't see a whole lot of creativity out of those guys.
No, as I was saying, I mentioned, we split our team in half. It was the back line and Watts last night, and then it was Vasilev, Leuven, AZ, and then Adeniran and Gioacchini. And it was not flowing, especially in the first half. So the subs ultimately brought us a little more cohesiveness, but AZ didn't have his best night last night. I think partially as a result of that, our counters just weren't great. Adeniran, like I said, was pretty isolated at times. And Gioacchini was hurt for like the last 10 minutes of the first half, keeping his arm strapped to the side of his body. So we didn't talk about Leuven. I actually think Leuven was fine last night. Again, probably our star performer of the night, just balanced going forward and backwards, winning balls off of guys, just clipping balls over guys' heads and dribbling by them. Just the composure that he plays with is light years ahead of some of the players on our team. Like, he's just got veteran-like experience despite, still being in his mid-20s.
Yeah, no, it's unreal. Shout out to Leuven again. I will say it again. I was happy to see that guy at the pitch.
We'll get him there. We'll get him there.
Yeah, we'll get there at some point, but I saw him in Forest Park. But he's a young guy. He's just been our shining star. Absolutely. Him and Berkey. There's nothing bad to say about those guys. I am excited, Jake, the more we talk about it. Next game, maybe our first game with a healthy, full lineup of the season. When you throw Blum in there, we have Nilsson that'll start with Parker, who just had his kids. So that's why he was out. Possibly Santa Claus up top. Yeah. Like, it would be, oh my God. I already looked at the line. We're minus 130 against Dallas, which Dallas is not a bad squad. I'm a little surprised by that. They're plus 300.
They're not a bad squad, but I've obviously been starting stuff for our preview, which we'll probably do, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday, quick for the Wednesday game. But they haven't done a lot since they beat us, honestly. In the MLS, I think they've won one game since they beat us.
But they're 8th.
They are, but that just tells you they're resting a little bit on how they started the season, and they actually had some good success in Leagues Cup before getting knocked out by Messi.
Right.
But no, Wednesday should be a great matchup, I think, between both these teams. But prediction time. I know you and I talked about it obviously before. You were on the reverse. You were on 2-1 win. I was on 2-2 draw. So we were close. But I actually was in the green on my bet. I said score in the second half. I cashed that. I took the live over 2, like 30 minutes into the first half as well. So that hit as well. I mean,
why don't you text me these things?
Hard to hit the live over 2. I didn't love how it hit, but it hit.
Why don't you text me these things? Do not do that without me and leave me in the dark, because now I'm in the red. Double chance, L, -135. City over 1.5, +160. It got up to +190. Double chance was +110 when the game started. So I took these way too early, knowing that I was going out of town. But you know what? I'm fine with it. I already looked. I am absolutely hammering the over 1.5 for Wednesday. That's -130. I'm back on that train.
You know what's fortunate though, Justin? So this doesn't impact us all that much. So we maintain a 4-point advantage at the top of the Western Conference. The fortunate part about this is that everyone kind of just took this last game week off in terms of taking it seriously, because the top 4 teams in the Western Conference have all lost their most recent game. That's us, LAFC, Real Salt Lake, and Seattle. Houston did win their last fixture. San Jose lost. And a couple other teams at the bottom half of the table have had more success, like the S-words, who were victorious last night. But it could have been worse if these other teams around us were winning. So it's not a totally bleak picture.
Oh, it's not a bleak picture at all, Jake. Look at this. Help me out with this.
I'll drop this. Yep.
Thank you. So even with all of this, and that's what we're talking about. This magic number is going to be forever moving, because it's based on points projections for the rest of the season. Because if we did it where every team won, these numbers would be outrageous. But with everything that's been happening, even though we lost, we technically, as of right now, if everybody holds their same route for the rest of the season, only need 6 points to get home field advantage for the round 1. That would get us the number 4th spot in the playoffs going in. We only need 5 points to get into the 7th spot, which would give us the away on the first round. But then if we just want to make it into the wild card game, only 3 points, which I know that number's kind of been lingering there, but it still makes sense. We say typically on average about 45 points gets you into the playoffs. Right now we're at 44. So 3 points give us 47. We'd be in the playoffs as well. So long story short, 9 games to go. I would say at a minimum, we need 6 points. I would say, obviously that's 2 wins out of 9. I think we're comfortably cruising into a home field advantage first round.
So 2 things to say on this while you keep this up, because I think I mentioned that part right before you did this for a reason. And that's that the teams at the bottom of the West won recently. And the teams at the top of the West didn't. So that's why you're seeing these points constrict. So we're not, mathematically, according to points per match, guaranteed a playoff position right now. But the top end of our playoff position being guaranteeing home field. So meaning that it's a 3-game series. You have to win 2 games in a 3-game series, basically best of 3, and it's home and away. So we will get a guaranteed 2 home games if we go to 3 in this round 1. So that point tally used to be what, Justin, like 11 when we started doing this, and now it's 6 because those top teams aren't doing as well as they should be. So we're maintaining our lead while the lower teams are closing the gap, which is keeping that 3 points as the qualifier to get into the wild card position for the playoffs. So it's good stuff for us. I know we're not, qualified yet according to points per match, but that window is getting tighter and tighter with how things are trending in the West.
No, I completely agree. And good thing to note here, I love that you added this in here for our graphic, for anybody that's not watching but listening through the podcast. Our next 3 games, Dallas, Sporting KC, LA Galaxy, 8th in the West, 11th in the West, and 13th in the West. So, Dallas just now moved into a playoff position at the 8th spot. But then Sporting KC and LA Galaxy, as they are not in the playoffs, what's a great thing to think about, Jake, is we get to play Sporting twice. Yes, I know it's like our derby, but that team is trash. That should be our 6 points, what gets us into the first spot.
So final thing to note there too is it's not going to be easy, right? We only have 4 more home games out of those 9, so we are going to be primarily playing on the road for this final stretch. But I think going away to Orlando, a good Eastern Conference team, and getting that experience under our belt last night should be a good learning experience for us. and hopefully we can carry that form into some of these away trips as they are coming up. But that's all we have for you all today. So like I said, we'll probably circle back with you all, Justin, probably Monday, Tuesday, and get a quick dirty preview out for you all for FC Dallas. But that's coming up on Wednesday. It should be a much nicer night in St. Louis for this one.
Oh, absolutely. I think the cold front's coming through. What's the high to there today, Jake? Like
not bad. It's like 80s.
Yeah, that's awesome. Here, not so much. I'm going to be sweating, watching sweaty John Rahm, sweating my bets. It's going to be a sweaty Sunday.
Love it. Well, have fun sweating that out, Justin. Hopefully you all have enjoyed a little breakfast and brunch with the ball watching boys on a Sunday morning. But all in all, keep your heads up. I think an okay way to end that game last night. I think everything probably happened the way it should have happened there, but a learning experience. I think one we don't come back home with on Wednesday and look to just put it away and get back out in the front foot with Dallas, a Western Conference opponent. It's in the playoff position right now. So let's do them.
Yeah, stay positive, fellas and ladies. The game was it's in a road game and it's a hard team to beat. They've now 10 games straight where they have not lost. So in all of their competition. So
sure.
I think it's take out Leagues Cup, but I think it's one of those that we did fine with, and we're going to bounce back. I'm not concerned.
I agree. Well, until early this week when we release that preview, hopefully you all have a great rest of your weekend, an early part to your week. We'll be back for a preview of the FC Dallas matchup coming up here. But until then, all for City.
All for City.